Hi, my name is Naomi Brown. I'm a psychology major, biology minor from Hartford, Connecticut.
Hi, my name is Jennette. I am a junior psychology major on pre-law track, music minor with a concentration in classical voice from Westchester County, New York.
Hi, my name is Haddy Tambadou. I am a senior psychology major, human development minor from Pennsylvania.
Hi, my name is Suazo. I'm a senior psychology major, sociology minor from PG County, Maryland.
Hi, my name is Indiya Webb. I'm a senior psychology major, African American studies minor from Dallas, Texas.
And for our second DPI, we decided to watch the film Get Out. Get Out is a film about a Black man named Chris and his white girlfriend named Rose. And they travel to her parents' house. They live in a more rural areas, so they travel there. And the family's dynamic is more so like of a father, a mother, and a younger brother. While there, Chris did notice some odd things about about how they have the housekeeping there, stuff like that. And while they're there for the weekend, there happened to be a soiree or a party per se, where the mother and father's friends came to their house, and they had like a little party per se. It was majority of friends were very much very wealthy as in their economic status as the parents. And Chris noticed that as well. He also noticed that he was the only Black man there until he saw another Black man there as well. But he acted very unusual, as you can say, for not to stereotype all Black people for as a Black person. And while he noticed certain things of that nature, he realized that the family wasn't always what they seemed. They just seemed a little too off for him. And when he was like, okay, it's time for me to leave at this point, he felt very uncomfortable. And he said, all right, he told his girlfriend, okay, let's go. I don't feel comfortable here. So he tries to leave, but then the girlfriend doesn't let him leave, and the family, they attack him, and he is hypnotized and brought down to the basement, where he's basically being sold to another white man or a friend of the families per se. And Chris does end up getting his way out of the situation, and in the end is eventually given away out by his friends, who happens to know he was there that weekend as well. And of course, we can get more into details between the psychological impact and things of that nature, but that's basically the summary, a quick synopsis of what happened throughout the movie.
Yeah, so that was basically the plot of the movie. And I just wanted to add, and also just kind of just get into the psychological impacts, that the plot in and of itself was very psychological. I feel as though, as in most of Jordan Peele's movies, one has to really think deeply in order to understand what's really going on, and basically just the implications of the film. Think about the themes that specific happenings in the film might represent. So as we know, the underlying theme of this film was racism, and basically just white people, not wanting us to have power. They knew that the Black people, held power there, even in their bodily strength, and that's why they were basically taking their organs and harvesting them and putting them into white people's bodies to basically give them that physical strength, and not only physical strength, but that intellectual strength, because in the movie, basically, someone's brain was taken out, a Black person's brain was taken out and given to, and basically sewn in another white person's head. And so basically that really if you think about it, the psychological part of that is basically white people trying to steal or take our intellectual strength for themselves.
Yeah, so I think a part that really affected the psychological impact was some of the music that they had in the movie. So in the beginning, well, probably like this, it's the second scene, not the beginning scene. They have Redbone playing by Childish Gambino. And I don't know, I can't speak for everybody else, but for me, I feel like that really made the song stick out for me. Like I was hearing that song everywhere, and it really, like, I can never hear that song and not think of that movie. And it was while that scene was playing, they had a bunch of like photographs that I just forgot his name, that Chris had taken because he was a photographer. And they were all like Black people. So I feel like it shows a lot of, not the impact, but like the way that our music makes you feel. And that's really the only like positive music that you get in the whole movie. And then after that, it's a lot of like dark instrumentals that play. So it kind of shows you that something is not all the way right with everything that you're seeing throughout the movie. Specifically, there's one sound that plays frequently, and it's like, I don't want to say it wrong, but the beginning word is Sikiliza, and it's Swahili. And I looked it up, and it actually means, well, what they were trying to say through that was listen to your ancestors, something bad is coming, run. So through the music, he was showing the whole, literally the whole theme of the movie, which is to get out and get free, basically. And he said that also when they were scoring the movie, they wanted it to be intentionally and distinctly Black. So it has African American sounds and African sounds and blues all mixed into it. So I feel like that has an effect, not only like just watching the movie, but a psychological impact that we don't even realize, because literally the whole movie they're telling us, listen to your ancestors and to rhyme. So I thought that was interesting. What did y'all think about the actors in the movie?
So for the actors, we had Daniel Kaluuya, Allison Williams, Lil Ray Howley, Catherine Keener, Bradley Whitford. And for them, their roles, I believe they played their roles almost too perfect, because Chris was casted as, like a regular, Black guy. He was into himself. He knew about his culture and all that. However, he was with a white woman, and you would think, oh, well, why is he with a white woman if he's so Black and he takes pictures of Black people, Black images? But Allison comes off as a very liberal and like very woke white woman. And even in the scene where they get stopped by the police, she's taking up for Chris and telling the police officer actually that you don't need to see his ID, you don't need to do this, you don't need to do that. And you would never think that her whole demeanor would completely change when when they arrived at their parents' house. And I think that Allison Williams, she played that character very, very well. You wouldn't be able to tell that she was going to switch up. You wouldn't really be able to tell that anyone was going to switch up at the end of the movie, which is why I also think Dean, who was played by Bradley Whitford, Allison Rose's dad, he comes off as a very pristine, put together white man. He's a neurosurgeon. He's pro-Obama. He says stuff like he would have voted for Obama for another third term, which is really crazy to think, because he's saying all these flowery words, these flowery statements. So Chris is more comfortable because he's a Black man, but obviously he didn't realize that he was about to get put into the sunken place. And then you have characters like Rod, who's played by Lil Ray Howley. And I think Rod is in this movie because he is meant to be relatable and also the comedic relief in a way, because everything Rod is thinking and Rod is saying, a lot of the audience can relate to. Like he was talking about how they're taking Black people and they're harvesting them, or they're just picking their brains. And he was right. Everything he was saying, he was right. And he didn't trust Rose or his family or her family. And it's really interesting to see, because most times in horror movies or scary movies or stuff like that, no one is really in the audience. Like, the audience is not going to feel like they're in the movie, because most of the time the scary movies are always ridiculous, but Jordan Peele made this movie realistic in a way that it would be stuff that regular people would think of, like, oh yeah, something fishy is going on, let's go check this out. And I want to go back to Chris and say that in horror movies, most of the time, like, the main character is usually just doing, not stupid, but like, they make decisions that don't make sense. But you can tell that Chris was really in tune with himself. Like, he's not just gonna go wander off. He's thinking about why are these Black workers acting a certain way, why I'm trying to talk to you and it's not working the same way that it's supposed to. And it's really interesting to see that Jordan Peele made this film in a way that the audience can relate. They can feel like they're in the movie. They can feel like they relate more to the movie, what makes you want to watch it more when you relate more to the movie. And I want to go also to Missy, who is Rose's mom. And the whole family is messed up. However, Missy is a psychiatrist, and she's the one who's doing like the hypnotizing and whatnot. And I think in the way that she tried to hypnotize Chris from not smoking, that was her way of trying to get into his brain just in general, so that they can like do the process of the brain transplant or the surgery and stuff. And it's really crazy to see how sometimes white people, even in like reality or like in real life, they will act totally different in front of like African Americans or people of color, and then switch up as soon as they get around their family, which is why a lot of African Americans are skeptical and scared to be in relationships with white women or white men or white non-binaries, because it's really crazy. A lot of them are still racist. They just act like they're not. And with that being said, I feel as though the characters that were there and the way that they were the actors acted and portrayed was also heavily amplified with the editing and the camera style. So how did you guys feel about the camera work and how it amplified the scenes in this movie?
Before I move on, I just wanted to add something about casting. So with the way, like, I don't know if you guys saw this or thought about this, but we basically, the whole movie was centered around Rose and her parents and her family, but we never really saw Chris's family. The only person that was basically like on Chris's side, like his acquaintances, his friends and family, was Rod. And like you said, I definitely agree that Rod was placed there to be very very relatable for, I guess, Black viewers or urban viewers or whatever. But I also, it's just like you see the very, very clear difference between Rose's people and the person that basically represents Chris and his people. And I guess like in the beginning, Rose seems to be like you said, like this woke white woman who doesn't discriminate or whatever. But if you really like look at that, that difference, you can kind of tell, like, it's just like, if her kind is like that, and her, in the end, like we said, like the whole film is very psychological. So it's like a lot of things that you didn't think about while watching the movie, you think about after. And that was just basically something I thought about, like, her family, and in the end, the way that they were, the way that they turned out in the end to be, very racist, discriminatory people. and then for Rod to just basically be like totally different, it's like it kind of shows what Chris represents and what Rose represents. That's what I just wanted to point out.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to talk about one of the characters too. Like, really, the acting was really good, especially with Rose. When like the entire movie, she just seemed like this kind of sincere woman, and then like towards the end, she's just straight faced, just really rigid, but she's able to manipulate her voice to sound like concerned and stuff. It was super creepy. But I feel like it kind of related a lot to how the movie was set up when it came to like the editing and the camera style of it. Because the whole movie was pretty much just classic horror scene shots of like close ups, like when I think her name's Georgina, when she starts like freaking out on the inside, like you can see her crying, it would just close up more into her. And so, and like the running scene when the man's just running towards Chris in the middle of the night, like a lot of, I guess, typical horror scenes, but a lot of it was influenced by the music, I'd say, because of how the creepy music and the close-up scenes really meshed together to give it this like thriller horror kind of thing. But also the editing in, I want to say like the sunken place, that was like really good, because it was like he would look into like a TV screen through his eyes pretty much. And it kind of like related towards the end when he got like trapped into that room, and like the only thing he could see was this small TV, but also kind of like into his childhood of how he always went on about how his mom got into the accident while he was watching TV. So it was like relating to lots of parts, and you could kind of notice it through the editing of it. But also like a lot of close-ups to like this, like certain things that kind of led to other parts, like the scratching of the furniture, like those close-ups in his hands were kind of similar to when he was a child, or when it was close up to the teacups, it was kind of like at the beginning, kind of like trying to like let the audience know like, hey, you should probably focus on this because it's going to be a key point to the movie. But I feel like a lot of that is also influenced by settings and like the costume of the whole thing. So what do you guys think about that?
I just want to ask like one question real quick. Do you guys remember that scene where Chris was like packing up to leave real like abruptly, and he turns around, like the little door was open, and that's where he found the pictures of Rose with like posing like, you know, her past boyfriend, stuff like that. Who you guys think opened the door? I kind of think it was Georgina.
I actually didn't really think about that. In my head, I think I just thought he opened it. But if Georgina opened it, that makes a whole lot of sense, because the Black lady inside of her that was still there was definitely trying to fight the whole movie. Like when she was talking to him and started crying because he was saying how when he gets around too many white people, he gets uncomfortable. Like when she started crying, that was her trying to come out. So I think she might have been trying to like show him like, hey, you gotta go. Like,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. And also like I just found Georgina very interesting in how she was like trying to like communicate through her emotion through her face, but then she just kept smiling, but her eyes were just definitely telling a different story as well. And like if you really focus on the eyes, they tell a lot of the story, because when the flash went off and it focused on, I think the name was Logan, the guy with the hat with the white woman, like his pupils, like it was white at first and then it started to get dark, and like it's kind of like him resurfacing back from the sunken place, and that's when he started freaking out, stuff like that. But continuing on to like the settings and costumes, like I mentioned before, like I think Logan's attire with the hat and stuff and the jacket was very I guess I'm gonna say like old school, maybe like in 1950s kind of wear. And Chris taking that picture of him and showing his friend, I think Rod was his name, was definitely like a wake-up call for Rod, like, okay, this is kind of weird, like, why he dressed like that with a white woman that's like 3 times his age. And also, like, from you can tell from early on that they come from a very wealthy family, because, like, I don't know if y'all know this, but Rose was driving a Lincoln, and Lincolns are kind of expensive cars. And just like also from the house like that, and how big it was, and how they even just can be able to afford servants, quote unquote, even though they don't really, I guess they're not really paid. But yeah, that's what I think about the settings and the costumes like that.
Going off that, I think some parts of the script were really interesting too. Like in the very beginning, the like dark setting that they had with Andre Hayward, when he was like walking through trying to meet whoever he was trying to meet and got lost, and that's when Rose's brother like kidnapped him. Well, I think it was her brother. It might have been somebody else, but I'm like 90% sure it was her brother. But like the fact that they had him talking on the phone and he was like, yeah, like, you know how white people are, like, I can't be getting caught out here, or whatever he was saying. Like, it kind of like foreshadowed what was going to happen in the rest of the movie, or like the fact that he got kidnapped in general. Because when the car stopped, he got real freaked out and was like, you know what, like, I'm not even going to go that way. I'm just going to go this way because they be trying to mess with us and da 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 da. And then he got taken. But if anybody else had anything else to say about the script, my bad. I didn't mean to overstep.
I was gonna just mention how Rose's father, you know, like in the beginning, Rose's parents are just very welcoming, almost like overly welcoming to Chris, and like they're kind of just like marveling over like her being with a Black man, and just like, you know how like certain white people just fetishize Black people, and like just white women in general sometimes fetishize Black men. So that's basically like what they were doing. But then Rose's father like started making several like implications and references and like innuendos about Black people and Black culture. And like, if you really pay attention, like these little implications like basically speak to the theme of racism and like just the overall movie. And it's just like they were pretending to be welcoming, however they couldn't pretend fully because like he was basically slipping up and making these slick comments. And it's almost like kind of just saying like some white people may like act like they are, you know, woke or, you know, just in support of Black people, but then like you'll start to realize like certain little things that they do basically are telling of how they really feel. And, you know, yeah.
One thing I wanted to add about the script was just the way that it wasn't like an outlandish or unbelievable movie. Like Jordan Peele made sure that like I feel like this is stuff that could happen in real life, even though it sounds ridiculous, but there are white people that will go to lengths to use minorities and Black people as objects, because even back during that's what they seen us as, like objects. So that's what they're using us as. And for Jordan Peele to make this movie and to make the characters are relatable and make them also just out of this world is really interesting to see and to witness with his movies.
Actually, yeah, I agree with the script. It kind of kept everything like realistic. Like there wasn't nothing super outlandish, because it's like those are actual things that people will say and will do in real life. And it's like you can kind of pick up like, oh, that's something that's realistic. And kind of like the whole movie and the script went into like the fact that like there's white people out there who will be so oddly racist to the point where it looks like obsession. Like they just were really fetishizing so badly that they wanted to be these people. It was very
I
interesting.
definitely agree. And like I was saying before, like you said, they fetishize Black people to the point where they want to be us. Like they know that the power that we hold, and just like strength in being persecuted for so long, that like we now have that strength, and literally they want our intellect, not only our intellectual strength, but they want our physical strength. And like I feel like that's the whole reason behind Jordan Peele putting in the movie, them taking the organs of the Black people, and basically like most to all of Rose's ex-Black boyfriends, and taking their organs and just basically putting them into other white people, because like you said, it becomes like an obsession. They want to be us. So literally they're taking these body parts and putting them on, like putting them inside of themselves to basically make them us.
But yeah, if no one else has anything to add, that was our DPI for Get Out by Jordan Peele. I think we all really enjoyed the movie, and especially after what, because it came out years ago, but after watching it a second time, we've realized, you catch on to more things as you rewatch movies.